All right, so here are going to be the answers for your practice assignment on Wednesday. So for these 6 triangles, we have to identify the missing side length. So just like on that practice video and on your note sheets, we have to identify the right angle. So looking at this, I know that my right angle forms my A and my B. So I have A and B here. So I have 4.5 squared plus 4 squared, and that will equal C squared. So 4.5 squared plus 4 squared is going to equal 36.25. And I'll have to square root that to find my answer. So C is going to be about 6. So again, C is my missing side length. For number 2, my right triangle is up on this left hand top corner. So I have my A or B, it doesn't really matter. Here I need to figure out what my B is, and C is over here because it is opposite of my right angle. So I have 8 squared plus B squared equals 10 squared. So I have 64 plus B squared equals 100. To get this B squared all by itself, I'm going to subtract. So B squared would equal 36. And I need to find the square root of 36 in order to get B all by itself. So B would equal 6. Third one, my right angle is right here. So that means that I have A, I need to figure out what B is, and I have C already labeled as well. So I'm going to have 2 squared plus B squared equals 14 squared. So this is going to be 4 plus B squared equals 196. Again, you can use a calculator to do those values. To get B squared all by itself, I'm going to subtract by 4. So I have B squared equals 192. And I'm going to square root the 192. So my B should equal 13.9. Number 4. My right angle is lower left. So I don't know what my A is. I know what my B is, and I know what my C is. So that's going to help me when I'm solving this. So I have A squared plus 8 squared equals 20 squared. I know that 8 squared is 64. I know that 20 squared is 400. And I still have my A off to the side. So I have to get A squared all by itself. In order to do that, I'm going to get rid of this plus 64. So I'm going to subtract 64 from both sides. So I would have A squared equals 336. And in order to get A by itself, I'm going to have to square root the 336. Since I can do that in my calculator, I'm going to approximate it and round it to 18.3. Next one, my right angle is up here. So I have A, I don't have B, and I have C. So I would do 3 squared plus B squared equals 11 squared. So I'm going to have 9 plus B squared equals 121. And I'm going to subtract my 9 from both sides. So I have B squared equals... Go away. Grace, go. Sorry, guys. So I'm going to subtract or square root my 112. So that is going to be about 10.6. All right, number 6. So I can see that my right angle is up top. Again, I'm just finding the angle that looks like the 90-degree angle, and I have to prove that it's going to work. So I have A, I don't have B, but I do have the C. Again, I know that the C is the opposite of the right angle. So I'm going to have 12 squared plus B squared equals 25 squared. So I'm going to have 144 plus B squared equals 625. And I'm going to subtract my 144 from both sides. So I have B squared equals 481. And to get that B all by itself, I'm going to have to square root it. So my answer is approximately, again, I'm going to round to the nearest tenth. So that answer will be 21.9. All right. So these numbers are off, but the next set, we have to determine if it's going to make a right triangle or not. So we have to prove that the two short sides squared and added together would equal the long sides squared. So I would have 6 squared plus 12 squared equals 13 squared. And if I add these two sides together, it is going to equal 180. And this side is going to equal 169. Since these two numbers do not equal, it would be a no. All right, the next one, I am going to take 14 squared plus 48 squared, and I'm going to see if it will equal 50 squared. So if I do this part in my calculator, I will end up getting 2,500. If I do this in a calculator, I will also get 2,500. Since those two numbers equal, then yes, it would form a right triangle. Next one, I'm going to take 10 squared plus 18 squared equals 22 squared. If I add these two together, it would equal 424. And if I do this in my calculator as well, I'm going to have 484. Since these two numbers do not equal each other, it would be a no. All right, next one, 8 squared plus 15 squared equals 17 squared. If I put this in my calculator and add it together, it's going to equal 289. If I put this in my calculator, it's going to equal 289. Since those two numbers equal each other, yes, these three side lengths would form a right triangle. Next one. If I put this in my calculator, I'm going to get 841. If I put 30 squared in my calculator, it would be 900. These numbers do not equal, so it would be a no. They do not form a right triangle. And then my last one for this set, again, I'm having my two small sides squared and added together should equal my long side. So if I do this in my calculator, all of this is going to equal 841. 29 squared is also 841. Since these two numbers equal, it would be a yes as well. And then the last three, you do not need a triangle. You just need to know what your two legs are. So A and B are my legs, and you need to know what the hypotenuse is, which is C. All right, so I know that my A squared is the missing piece. So I have B squared, and it's all going to equal C squared. If I do this all on my calculator again, I'm going to get 3,600 and then 3,721. And I will subtract my 3,600 from both sides. So that would be a squared equals 121. And I need to square root that number. So that would equal 11. My next one, I'm given my 2 leg numbers. And I need to figure out my hypotenuse, or my C. So I would have 900 plus 256 equals C squared. So that would be 1,156. And that will equal C squared as well. In order to get C all by itself, I'm going to have to square root my 1,156, and that's going to equal 34. So 34 should be your second answer. And then my last one, I don't know what B is, so I have 5 squared plus B squared equals 11 squared. So I have 25 plus B squared equals 121. To get B squared all by itself, I'm going to have to get rid of this 25. So I'm going to do the opposite of it. So I'm going to subtract from both sides. When I subtract, that goes away. And I have B squared equals 96. And I'm going to take the square root of 96. And I'm going to get about 9.8.